This nun tore off her habit, looked straight into the camera, and in that single moment, she didn't just break her vows, she set the entire Catholic Church on fire. In the 70s, the ultimate sin wasn't just showing the human body, it was showing it inside the stone walls of a cathedral. Directors were being called antichrists, and the Vatican was literally issuing death warrants for films that dared to suggest that beneath the robes of the holy, there was the same raw, bleeding, and desperate desire as everywhere else. We're talking about movies that were stolen from cinemas by angry mobs and hidden in vaults for decades. This is where the sacred meets the profane. This is when cinema decided to go to hell, just to show us what was really happening behind the altar. Number 12. The Devils, 1971. Director, Ken Russell. If you want to see the exact moment the 70s decided that nothing was sacred anymore, you have to watch The Devils. This isn't just a movie, it's a fever dream of religious hysteria that feels like it was filmed in the middle of a riot. Ken Russell took the true story of a charismatic priest and a convent of repressed nuns and turned it into a psychedelic nightmare. Vanessa Redgrave plays the hunchback sister superior who is so consumed by her forbidden lust for the priest that she triggers a mass demonic possession. The imagery of naked nuns screaming in a cathedral, desecrating a crucifix, and descending into total sweating madness was so intense that the film is still censored to this day. It's provocative because it shows that the most terrifying thing isn't the devil, it's the human mind when it's forced to suppress its own nature. It's a loud, violent, and incredibly beautiful assault on the church, and honestly, it's one of the bravest things ever put on celluloid. Number 11. Viridiana, 1961, 70s Legacy. Directed by Luis Buñuel. Technically, this started a bit earlier, but its impact defined the provocation of the 70s art house scene. Buñuel was a master of making the church look absolutely ridiculous and terrifying at the same time. The story follows a young novice about to take her vows who visits her lecherous uncle, and everything spirals into a surreal nightmare of beggars and betrayal. The Last Supper scene, where a group of filthy, drunken outcasts recreates Da Vinci's masterpiece while a woman exposes herself, is a middle finger to religious authority that still stinks today. When the film won at Cannes, the Vatican went ballistic, calling it blasphemous. It's a movie that uses the purity of a young girl to highlight the absolute rot of the world around her. There is a cold, cynical beauty in how Buñuel strips away the sanctity of the church, showing that underneath the gold and the incense, there is just human greed and lust waiting to explode. Number 10. Alucarda, 1977. Director, Juan López Moctezuma. This is a hidden gem that most people are too scared to touch. Alucarda is a Mexican horror masterpiece that is basically The Exorcist on steroids and drenched in blood and sacrilege. It's set in a convent where two orphan girls fall in love and accidentally unleash a satanic force. But the real horror comes from the nuns and priests who try to save them. The provocation here is relentless. Blood-soaked rituals, naked bodies twisted in agony, and a total rejection of Christian morality. The cinematography is stunning. It looks like a living painting of the apocalypse. It explores the idea that the holy people are the ones who are truly lost in their own darkness. It's a visceral, screaming, and deeply erotic film that takes every religious taboo and shatters it with a sledgehammer. If you want to see where the 70s went when they truly stopped caring about being polite to the church, Alucarda is your destination. Number 9. Häxan, Witchcraft Through the Ages, 1970s re-release. Director, Benjamin Christensen. Narrated by William S. Burroughs. I know. The original was silent, but in the late 60s and early 70s, this film was resurrected with a jazz score and narration by the cult legend William S. Burroughs, and it became a total counterculture sensation. It's a documentary-style descent into the world of medieval witchcraft, but the imagery is pure, unfiltered provocation. We're talking about demons appearing in girls' bedrooms, witches kissing the devil's backside, and nuns being driven into a mass frenzy of blasphemy. The 70s audience ate it up because it proved that our obsession with forbidden rituals has been there for centuries. It's a visual feast of the grotesque, showing the naked human form subjected to inquisitions and supernatural lust. Watching it today, you realize that the directors of the 70s weren't inventing shock. They were just reclaiming it from a history that the church tried to bury. It's haunting, weirdly erotic, and deeply subversive. Number 8. Beyond the Door, 1974. Direct Ovidio G. Assonitis. While everyone was talking about The Exorcist, the Italians were busy making Beyond the Door, a film so blatant and so greasy that Warner Bros. Actually tried to sue it out of existence. But here's the thing, this movie is way more uncomfortable. It follows a woman in San Francisco who becomes pregnant, but the fetus is a demonic entity that starts taking over her body and her life. The provocation here is in the body horror of the pregnancy itself. It mixes religious dread with a very raw 70s exploitation aesthetic. There's a scene involving the possession and the physical transformation of the female body that feels incredibly intrusive and visceral. It's not a clean studio movie. It's a sweaty, claustrophobic nightmare that uses religious symbols as a backdrop for a story about a woman's body being used as a vessel for pure evil. It's the kind of movie you find in a dusty corner of a video store and realize you've stumbled upon something truly wrong. Number 7. The Antichrist, 1974, direct Alberto De Martino. Also known as L'Anticristo, this is Italy's high-fashion answer to the possession craze, and it is absolutely relentless. Carla Gravina plays a paralyzed woman who, out of sheer desperation and repressed trauma, becomes possessed by the spirit of a seductive ancient ancestor. The scenes in this film are legendary among cult cinema fans. I'm talking about some of the most daring and blasphemous sequences ever shot in Rome, right under the Vatican's nose. There is a black mass sequence that pushes every single button: nudity, sacrilege, and a total subversion of the Catholic ritual. But beyond the shock, it's a movie about the female psyche exploding under the weight of religious guilt. Gravina's performance is terrifyingly physical. She goes from a sophisticated aristocrat to a snarling, primal force of nature. It's a film that uses the sacred setting of Italy to highlight a very profane internal revolution. It's stylish, it's shocking, and it remains one of the most unapologetic films of the era. Number 6. Behind the Convent Walls, 1978. Director Valerian Borowiczik. Valerian Borowiczik was a master of art house erotica, and with this film, he decided to peek behind the heavy wooden doors of a 19th century Italian convent. This isn't a cheap nunsploitation flick, it's a beautifully shot, atmospheric descent into the hidden lives of women who have been locked away from the world. The provocation here is in the contrast between the cold, gray stone of the cells and the vibrant, pulsing desires of the nuns. They use anything they can find, musical instruments, statues, even their own dreams, to escape the crushing boredom of their vows. Borowiczik films the human body like a classical painting, but the content is pure rebellion. It's a movie about the tragedy of wasted passion and the hypocrisy of a system that tries to legislate the human soul. It's elegant, it's explicit, and it remains one of the most visually stunning, forbidden films ever made. Number 5. Malpertuis, 1971. Director Harry Kumel. This is a bizarre, gothic fever dream that features the legendary Orson Welles, but don't let that fool you into thinking it's a safe watch. Malpertuis is a surrealist masterpiece about a young sailor who finds himself trapped in a mansion where the Greek gods have been forced into human skins by a mad scientist and a sinister priest. The religious undertones here are thick and suffocating. It explores the idea that ancient, primal gods are still alive, hidden beneath the thin veil of Christian morality.
The nudity and the atmosphere are deeply unsettling. It feels like you're watching a ritual that wasn't meant for human eyes. It's a film about the death of the old gods and the birth of a new, darker kind of faith. It's provocative because it treats religion as a prison for the divine, filled with lush, eerie visuals that haunt you long after the credits roll.
Number 4. The Message, 1976, director Mustafa Akkad. Now this is a different kind of provocation. In 1976, Mustafa Akkad decided to film the life of the Prophet Muhammad, but the twist was that he followed the strict religious rule that the Prophet could never be shown on screen or even heard. This was a massive, high-stakes gamble. While it's not an explicit film in terms of nudity, it was a huge provocation to the Islamic world at the time. There were riots, threats, and even a hostage crisis in Washington, D.C. because of rumors about the film. It's provocative because of its absence. The camera acts as the eyes of the prophet, forcing the viewer to inhabit a sacred space. Akkad tried to bridge the gap between East and West, but he ended up creating one of the most controversial religious epics in history. It shows that sometimes what you don't show can be just as explosive as what you do. It's a testament to the power of the image and the power of its denial. Number 3. The Last Temptation of Christ, 1988, 70s legacy. Director Martin Scorsese. I know, it officially dropped in the 80s, but Scorsese spent the entire 70s fighting for this vision, obsessed with the source material that the church had tried to bury for years. The provocation here is the ultimate what if. What if Jesus wasn't just a divine icon, but a man plagued by the same fears and, most controversially, the same sexual desires as any of us? The scene that nearly burned down theaters shows Christ on the cross, hallucinating a life where he climbs down, marries Mary Magdalene, and experiences the physical act of love. To the Vatican, this was the ultimate spit in the face. To Scorsese, it was the only way to show the true sacrifice of a man-god. People weren't just protesting, they were throwing Molotov cocktails into cinemas. It remains the most humanizing and therefore most dangerous portrait of divinity ever filmed. Number 2. Life of Brian, 1979, director Terry Jones. Leave it to Monty Python to create the most sophisticated blasphemy in history. They didn't mock Jesus, they mocked the idiots who followed him. By telling the story of Brian, a guy born in the stable next door who is mistaken for the Messiah, the Pythons took a flamethrower to organize religion. The film is packed with nudity, absurdity, and the famous final scene of a mass crucifixion where everyone sings, "Always look on the bright side of life." It was banned in Ireland, Norway, and dozens of towns in the UK. Some places even banned it for decades. The provocation wasn't just a humor, it was the suggestion that faith is often just a comedy of errors. It's the smartest fuck you to religious authority ever made, proving that laughter is sometimes more threatening to the church than 1,000 horror movies. Number 1. Salò, or The 120 Days of Sodom, 1975. Director Paolo Pasolini. We have to return to Pasolini for the top spot, because Salò is the final boss of provocative religious and political cinema. This is the film where the sacred is not just ignored, but systematically destroyed. Pasolini takes 4 powerful men, representing the law, the church, the bank, and the state, and has them kidnap a group of youths to subject them to the most horrific, ritualistic tortures imaginable. The religious subtext is everywhere. It's a perverted mass where the body is the only sacrifice. It's so extreme, so clinical, and so profoundly evil in its depiction of power that it was banned almost everywhere for decades. Pasolini used the absolute desecration of the human form to show that when those in power lose their fear of God, they become the devil themselves. It is the most difficult film on this list, the most controversial, and the ultimate reminder that the screen can be a mirror to the darkest parts of the human soul. These films weren't made to make you feel good, they were made to make you feel something, even if that something was rage, disgust, or confusion.
In a world where the church held all the cards, these directors used the only weapon they had, the camera. They showed us that the line between the saint and the sinner is much thinner than we'd like to believe. The 70s was the last time cinema was truly dangerous. Today, we're surrounded by filters and algorithms, but these movies remain raw, bleeding, and unapologetic. They remind us that art's job isn't to comfort the disturbed, but to disturb the comfortable. Thanks for sticking through this dark journey into the sacred and the profane. If you've got the guts to watch any of these, let me know your thoughts in the comments, if you don't get banned first. Don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the films they don't want you to see. Stay rebellious.